Welcome to the English Education Classroom Suites, the most sophisticated computer lab for preparing future teachers in America. These are a suite of classrooms where we prepare elementary and secondary language arts teachers to integrate technology in meaningful ways into the teaching of reading and writing. This suite of labs looks like a regular classroom, but in fact it's a highly sophisticated computer laboratory. Think of the computer labs that you're familiar with. They're all in rows with large machines stuck in position, students behind the machines, unable to barely see the front, very difficult to collaborate or communicate with other people in the room. When you walk into this room, it doesn't look like a computer lab. What you see instead are desks on wheels and chairs on wheels. There are whiteboards on the walls. In many senses, it looks like a familiar classroom. But in fact, this is a highly sophisticated computer lab that's actually the classroom of the future. These desks and chairs on wheels allow for a great variety of classroom instruction. We can move the desks into islands. We can have the desks in big circles. We can set them up in a theater style facing the front. We can create small circles. We can create a debating format with rows of desks facing each other. We can also create a new form that we've used called inside-out circles that we use especially for integrating technology and technology activities into the classroom. So it's a highly mobile classroom that will suit a lot of different kinds of teachers. Those teachers who want to be very technology integrated at all times, and other teachers who want to bring the technology in when it seems relevant to them. In this sense, it's like most public school classrooms, where desks are also highly mobile.
My students love the room. They love the ability they have to organize into different groupings. We move the desks around, the chairs are on wheels, the tables are on wheels. We use a document camera every day. The students give many presentations and they like using the cameras. We also show films. We have pulled out the laptops once in a while and they're able to access whatever they need, research, articles, and we can discuss the articles. We love that classroom.
The sophisticated presentation equipment that we have in the room allows us to connect computers, document cameras, CD players, DVD players, to project through this data projector that's screwed into the ceiling. We have 2 speakers on the walls, and this allows us to use a whole range of multimedia materials for presentation purposes. Often the presentations are by the teacher, but just as equally they're by students who want to present their work to the class. It's wonderful to have a document camera because with a document camera you can take student writing and you can put it up and make it viewable for the whole class immediately. Or teachers can use a document camera to create model writing examples and they can edit writing in front of the class. We also use it often to present images. For instance, sometimes we've used it to present children's literature text that we want to study as a group. So the document camera attached to the data projector gives us some powerful opportunities. But here's where this classroom starts to take on a special character. We've got a cabinet full of laptops, one for each of the students in the class. The laptops all have common software and they're all able to connect to each other, to a university server which allows them to share documents and materials, to the data projector, and to all the resources of the internet through wireless technology. As a result, we can completely integrate the internet into the classroom. You notice that the desks are flat and that they're big enough to allow a laptop to sit there and a few other papers and books at the same time. So they're just the right size to use for integrating laptops into instruction. So having a laptop available to students in school is going to be a standard activity very soon. And we need to prepare teachers who are ready to work with that kind of environment and integrate the resources of the internet into the classroom in an effective way. In the case of language arts instruction, we need to prepare students to become writers of the future. And those writers are going to be writing using the internet. They're going to be sending email, they're going to be creating all kinds of documents using presentation and preparation software, and they're going to be creating websites, wikis, blogs, digital videos, and all kinds of materials that will be shared through the internet collaboratively. The teaching of writing necessarily involves the integration of technology in a meaningful way.
I personally don't ever think of myself as a real techie person. And that's true as a faculty member as well as just a person who uses technology because the world requires technology these days. And so, so students use the technology, and we love to have that easy to use technology so that we can show DVDs, we can project just about anything that we want to in the classrooms, and we can use a whole range of resources that we didn't have before.
We have done some interesting experiments in this room. One of the things we've done is we've used Skype, which is, of course, is a free visual camera program that you can use to communicate between one site and another. We've connected up Skype to this classroom and to other classrooms out in the schools, so our students can watch classrooms and interact with teachers while they're learning in here. We've developed resources for online teaching of English, including virtual worlds for literary study. We've made 13 different virtual worlds based on different literary works. One of them, for example, is based upon the novel Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. In this virtual world, which is designed with black and white photographs that were taken in Africa at the time the novel is set, students take on a username and a password, and they wake up inside the virtual world as one of the characters from this African village. And they engage in all kinds of dialogue and activities as if they were a character in the novel. A transcript of what they say is sent to them and to their teacher, which gives them, in a sense, the power to imaginatively enter into a work and to recreate that work and to become writers as well as readers at the same time. So the possibilities the new technologies are opening up for meaningful literature instruction are really tremendous. And this kind of classroom suite lets that happen. Lets us explore that and lets future teachers work with it in a regular, daily way so that they become fluent experts at the use of technology in the classroom. One of the things that's happened is that our students often come to us without a lot of technology background. Many of them have never made a website before. Many of them have never used a lot of the new technology resources that are out there for teaching and learning. By the time they leave, it's become part of their skin. They've been integrated into it day in and day out. And so they go to schools, and they, as a new teacher who's had this kind of experience, all this extensive work with laptops and other resources, they become leaders in their building, and they help other teachers in their district learn how to use technology in an effective way.
I love the rooms, and the students love them because we can collect linguistic data from the students in the class during class time, and we can listen to differences in pronunciation among the students' speech. So we can record, we can listen to pre-recorded speech samples. We can do a lot of the things that I used to only be able to talk about in class. We can actually listen to things, we can actually record things, we can do the analysis right there instead of saying, oh, there are people who have these pronunciation features. We can listen to recordings of those actual features. We can record the students and listen to whether they have the features or not. So it's wonderful.
This classroom includes not only the two rooms that we'll be looking at, but also this preparation observation room that I'm standing in now. The preparation observation room has two primary functions. Well, as I mentioned, first it's a preparation room. That's to say, it's a place in which students can develop digital and computer-based projects during the class, after and before class as well. So this is a special, smaller computer lab with higher quality computers and very good software that's connected and links also with the software we have in the classroom already. So if students want to do digital storytelling, for example, they can develop that out in the classroom, or they can come and develop it here in more sophisticated ways, and they can use this as a support for a lot of the work that they're doing in the classroom. Let me give you an example of one of the times that I used this recently and how it went. I had a group of students that were leading the other students in the class in studying how to teach literature from around the world. And they decided that the other students would benefit if they would each take a particular area of the world and focus on how to teach literature from that area and make a small video about that literature, and then share that as part of one piece of a much larger project that they were doing. Well, that group of 4 students that was leading the class did not know how to make iMovie. But they came into this room after class at a time that worked for all 4 of them. They met with a technology expert who came in here and trained each of them in how to use and develop iMovie, and that group made a little iMovie as a sample for the rest of the class. Then each one of those 4 took 1/4 of the rest of the students and met in here at a time that worked for those students, and they each developed their own little iMovie about the teaching of world literature. one of the reasons I like that model is because it didn't take up much of my class time. I don't want to use class time to teach people how to use technology. I want it to be seamlessly integrated into what we're doing, and I want a lot of the learning about technology to take place outside of class or as part of our regular learning in the classroom. Well, one group of students made a little iMovie about how to teach literature from the third world. And as the other students did, they posted it up on YouTube. At one moment, these short movies were shown in class and as part of a broader discussion. The next semester, in another class that I had, a group of students were also thinking about teaching literature from around the world. This group, however, had decided to focus particularly on literature from the third world. And they went out to do research to see what kinds of resources they could find to include in their unit. And one thing they came across on YouTube was a really focused, excellent little movie about teaching literature from the third world. And so they began their unit by showing that movie in class. As the movie was going on, one of the students in the room, about 5 minutes into the film, raised his hand and he said, "Wait a minute, I recognize the narrating voice in this film. That's a kid I know that was in this class last year." And all of a sudden, the students realized that the video that they were showing to the class that they'd found as a great resource on the internet had been made by students in a previous class and had been sitting out there on YouTube and perhaps used by teachers and students around the world for lots of different purposes, but now it was become part of our new class. And one of the things I want to emphasize about this integration of technology into the classroom is students are no longer doing projects to try to turn them into the teacher. Instead, they're developing resources that can be used by the whole community, by the whole world in fact, and that can help us improve the class every time we teach it. So that we build these resources, students look at the model, they decide, how do we do that or better? And so we keep moving up each semester. In the past, in secondary schools, for example, in English classes, they'd often have poetry writing activities. In those poetry writing activities, you'd have a teacher decide to publish a classroom collection of poetry. What a great idea. The students learn about publication, they have a chance to see their own work in print, they get a chance to sell and share their work with a community beyond their classroom through this poetry magazine, for example. One of the things that starts to become possible with technology is to ramp that up in a tremendous way. So now they can create these anthologies and they can publish them on websites that they make. And the students in our classes are very experienced at developing all kinds of websites, from wikis and blogs to Nings, as Dr. Brinkley does, and many other examples. So the idea of a classroom publication, for example, now becomes something that's available to the whole world. And students can develop each their own. They can run blogs academic blogs that go along with what they're learning. I have many classes where I've used blogging in lots of different ways. One way, for example, is I have each student keep a blog about each of the different things that we're using. And the advantage of that is that now they can connect what we're learning in our class to all sorts of resources on the internet, because the blog is basically a kind of web commentary about things that are out there online, and they can tie that in to the reading and writing and learning that we're doing in our class. I have been talking about this room as a preparation room, but this is also an observation room. And one of the things we didn't see when we were looking in the classroom, we haven't seen yet, haven't talked about yet anyway, is the fact that we've got a camera located in the ceiling that we can control from inside this room. So we get to observe what's happening in the classrooms, in the English education classrooms on the sides here, by looking through this one-way glass, but we also get a chance to record it permanently on this camera. Now let me show you how this works. This is a fantastic resource which allows us to view what's happening in the classroom. I'm going to actually project it up onto the plasma screen here as well. But what I can do with this camera in the room is I can move it around to view different things. I can zoom it onto what's happening in the classroom. There are also microphones in the ceiling above the room so that we can record the conversation students are having. Of course, we could record a presentation that was being made in the classroom. And the result is that we have the capacity at the drop of a hat to create a record of what happens in the rooms. Now this is really interesting if you have students that are doing presentations or practice teaching activities. You can record them. We take one of these DVDs, which we can get for, 50 cents or something per DVD, pop it in here, push the record button, set it up, let it run, and then students afterwards can come in here and observe their own teaching, and they can view it on the plasma screen here. I can sit here with them. We can engage in a careful critique and examination of the teaching that they've just done. We can also use it to research what's being done in the classroom. This English education classroom has been a learning experience for all of us that are involved in it. You've seen and heard from a great variety of faculty, not even all of them, who are using these rooms. But it's been a chance for us to collaborate, to learn from each other, to share our pedagogical methods, and to think a lot about how to put technology into the classroom in a truly integrated and meaningful way. Our goal is to prepare teachers for the future and to work with existing teachers out in the field. And the thing that's remarkable to us is that future is now. Already, laptops are flooding into schools. There'll be more and more there. The biggest problem is not with technology. The problem is knowing how to use it effectively and how to teach with it. And that's precisely what this English Education Lab Suite lets us do.